We wrote the script based on the article. So for me, when I first read the article, I just couldn't believe that it was really a real story. I mean, it just seemed too out there for that to be real. So I guess the most appealing thing about it to me was the idea that it really happened. If it had just been a fictional article, I probably wouldn't have been as captivated by it. Jonah was there. When we were writing the script, I've said this before, we wrote the movie for Jonah, and we wrote it with Jonah in mind. And then when he agreed to do it, it was very much about finding a good counterpart to him, a good counterpunch. And you know, Miles is somebody I'd known for years. I worked with him in a little capacity once before, and so I just called him up and we started talking about it. He came in and he read with Jonah, and we put them together, and it felt like a good duo. To me, the tone was the whole reason to do the movie, in that it wasn't a straight up comedy. It's actually a drama, probably with comedy, and that to me most mirrors real life. I mean, how many times a day do you have a day that's purely dramatic or a day that's purely comedic? It's actually usually a mixture, and that's what makes something real. So that to me was appealing. I think there is definitely a point of view to the movie. I think if you watch the movie through the right lens, you realize that the movie's not really an indictment on these two kids. It's more an indictment on the government and their sort of procurement process and their lack of checks and balances. So to me, I don't necessarily, it isn't step back. I think there's a real point of view on it. I do think it's a sort of a uniquely American quality to have the confidence and the lack of insight to think you can really pull something like this off. And they did, so it's a hard thing to say is bad. They did until they didn't, until it caught up to them. But yeah, I think that probably is a uniquely American thing. We did research, but we really were able to, I mean, Guy wrote a really fascinating 5-page article for Rolling Stone, and that was really our blueprint. Obviously, conversations were created out of thin air that may never have happened, and that happens when you're just making a movie. But no, we didn't have any of those sort of shady meetings. We spoke to the real David. I actually never spoke to the real Ephraim, but David gave us a little bit of just detail and small flourishes that found their way into the movie. I find that like when guys get together, friends or what have you, they do make a lot of bad decisions. And I always feel like those bad decisions eventually, ultimately lead to mayhem. So the thing that interests me is the mayhem part and the chaos, because, you know, like for example, in The Hangover, the chaos pulls them closer together. In War Dogs, the chaos kind of separates these guys. But it's always just the documenting of chaos and mayhem that is the interesting part to me. Jonah surprised me every day. I mean, Jonah is somebody who just kept making that character his own. I mean, he really created his own version of Ephraim, and there are so many examples of that.